Good afternoon. It's a pleasure for us to share this academic space with you. We regret not being able to be with in person and hope to be able to do so in the next opportunity. I am Carlos Alberto Barón Serrano, Deputy Director of the Centro Nacional de Hotelería, Turismo y Alimentos, APSENA, in Bogotá, Colombia. In recent years, the orange economy has taken relevance in our country. We hope to contribute with relevant reflection for the orientation of public policy in our country and in the countries of Latin America. Now, I want to introduce my partner's lecturer, Carlos David Martinez Ramirez. Thanks a lot.
To make reference to orange economy phenomenon, a variety of terms are used, such as cultural industries, creative industries, leisure industries, entertainment industries, content industries, industries protected by copyright, cultural economy, and creative economy. Here, epistemology may help a lot to define the scope of the knowledge in general and in every field. According to UNESCO, cultural and creative industries are those that combine the creation, production, and marketing of creative contents that are intangible and has a cultural nature. These contents are normally protected by copyright and can take the form of a good or a service. They also include all artistic or cultural production, architecture, and advertising. For public policies implementation for orange economy development, it is pertinent to define the fields of actions that should be prioritized and the scope of knowledge associated. There are many issues linked with space. It is not the same to talk about orange economy in London, New York, or Colombia. Even inside Latin American countries, there are many differences. It is very important to understand the background in cultural and creative industries in every country interested in improved orange economy. Certainly, it is different to promote theater, musical events, movies, or literature. If the focus is set on the institutional capacity for commercialization of cultural products or services, or based on copyright, public policies can be oriented towards the development of alliance or agreements, macroeconomic or external economy issues. If the focus is placed on the potential of people to create or produce, it is important to review policies linked with the right to formal education access, vocational and educational training, or entrepreneurial development opportunities. In ontological terms, it is important to define whether public policies are oriented towards strengthening the institutional potential for the commercialization of products or services, or if they are oriented toward improving the cultural and educational potential of people for the creation of products or services. This delimitation has an impact on the epistemological field and influences the ways of collecting, managing, and evaluating information, and also in the forms of interpretation of the reality that is considered relevant for orange economy development. With the analysis of classical Greek philosophers, it's possible to discuss in terms of prevailing domestic economy with local criteria or chrematistics, one natural admitted by Aristotle and one unnatural rejected by him. In the field of contemporary epistemology, it's possible to think of the compatibility of discourses or species associated with knowledge management, which point to the marketing of knowledge, with an epistemology oriented toward economic survival, in contrast with the Aristotelian vision that differentiates doxis, a variable opinion, and episteme, real and true knowledge. According to Amartya Sen, the question that arises most forcefully now concerns the nature of capitalism and whether it needs to be changed. Some defenders of unfettered capitalism who resist change are convinced that capitalism is being blamed too much for short-term economic problems, problems they variously attribute to bad governance and the bad behavior of some individuals. Others do, however, see truly serious defects in the existing economy arrangements and want to reform them, looking for an alternative approach that is increasingly being called new capitalism. Certainly, ideas about changing the organization of society in the long run are clearly needed, quite apart from strategies for dealing with an immediate crisis. The pioneering works of Adam Smith in the 18th century, according to Amartya Sen, showed the usefulness of and dynamism of the market economy, and why and particularly how that dynamism worked. Smith's research provided an illuminating diagnosis of the workings of the market just when that dynamism was powerfully emerging. The contribution that the Will of the Nations, published in 1776, made to the understanding of what came to be called capitalism was monumental. Smith showed how the field of trade can very often be extremely helpful in generating economic prosperity through specialization in production and division of labor, and in making good use of economies of large scale. The market economy has depended for its own working not only on maximizing profits but also on many other activities, such as maintaining public security and supplying public services, some of which have taken people well beyond an economy driven only by profit. The credible performance of the so-called capitalist system when things move forward drew on a combination of institutions, policy-funded education, medical care, mass transportation are just a few of many, that went much beyond relying only on a profit maximizing market economy and on personal entitlements confined to private ownership. According to Darren Snyder Lost, regulatory reform in financial markets, though necessary and justified, does not by itself get to the heart of the matter evoked by the financial crisis. The present crisis prompts us to rethink our economy life, to ask the deeper question of what an economy is for. As Pope Benedict XVI has stated in his encyclical, the human consequence of current tendencies toward a short-term economy, sometimes very short-term, need to be carefully evaluated. This requires further and deeper reflection of the meaning of the economy and its goals. This crisis thus presents us with the opportunity to shift our attention from the nature of political economy to the nature of moral economy, the moral reality that underlines economic activity. According to Claude Mouchot, all the major approaches to economics involve the construction of a scientific object focused on a particular aspect of the world. Therefore, classical, neoclassic, Marxist, Marxist and Keynesian theories are science highlighting certain aspects of economic reality while equally neglecting others. According to Mouchot, the Keynesian theory has no means of explaining value. Classical and Marxist theories fail to account for market prices, apart from what can be explained from simple common sense, according to which market prices depend on the interaction between supply and demand. This theory, the neoclassical, lacks a simple answer to question: why are salaries and profits what they are? This is an interesting issue, according to Hack. When we are considering the allocation of revenue among social classes, and those social classes are not variables that can be explained by the neoclassical theory. The phenomenon of power, more or less taken into account by Keynes, real demand is the actual power held by entrepreneurs to reach an equilibrium characterized by underemployment, and by Marx, the struggle of classes, do not exist in the classical theory and are explicitly rejected by the neoclassical theory. All agents are equal. One of the most important challenges for the development of public policies aimed at strengthening the orange economy has to do with considering the educational capacity of populations that generate products and services based on knowledge or copyright, as well as on the potential of institutions to strengthen the commercial management of companies that sponsors the development of cultural industries, content industries, industries protected by copyright, cultural economy, and creative economy. Epistemology can help a lot to define the scope of knowledge in general and in every field. In the case of cultural industries and creative industries, it is important copyright protection. It involves laws and requires strong institutions for applying norms. And at the same time, it's important respect local cultures and multiculturalism. In leisure industries and entertainment industries, it's very important in countries like Colombia to work improving infrastructure and business platforms. Here, we may need to respect and develop traditions and bring opportunities to new generations of artists and entrepreneurs. Well, thanks a lot to organizers. Thanks a lot to all of you. We are very glad to share this space with you.